Marilyn Monroe was the golden girl of Hollywood, beautiful, charismatic, and larger than life. But behind the glamour, she faced storms of controversy. In this video, we're diving into three of the most scandalous stories from Marilyn's life. Each scandal pushed her to the brink in different ways. How did she handle the fallout? And what truths have emerged decades later? Stay tuned, because the real story of Marilyn Monroe is more dramatic than any movie. 1. Nude photos almost ruined her career. Our first scandal takes us back to 1952. Marilyn was a rising star when a shocking secret from her past suddenly exploded into public view. Nude photographs. A young Marilyn had posed nude in 1949, before she was famous, just trying to pay her bills. She earned a mere $50 for that calendar photo shoot. It might have stayed a forgotten footnote, until a tabloid reporter discovered the pictures and all hell broke loose. In early 1952, as Marilyn's fame grew, journalist Aline Mosby unearthed the truth. The sultry pinup everyone was whispering about was Marilyn Monroe herself. Studio executives at 20th Century Fox panicked. In those days, a sex scandal could destroy a young actress's career. The bosses urged Marilyn to deny everything and hide the fact she'd ever posed nude. But Marilyn did the opposite. She bravely owned up to it, and her frank honesty completely changed the narrative. In an interview, Marilyn calmly admitted she was indeed the nude calendar girl and explained why she did it. "I was broke and needed the money," she explained plainly. Some reporters were shocked at her boldness, but the public's reaction was not what the studio expected. Instead of outrage, many people admired her candor, Marilyn's genuine, almost innocent tone. Embarrassed yet truthful, won people over. 2. The white dress that ended Marilyn's marriage. Our second scandal finds Marilyn at the height of her stardom in 1954, caught between her bombshell image and her marriage to one of America's biggest heroes. Marilyn had married legendary New York Yankees baseball star Joe DiMaggio in January 1954. From the outside, it looked like a fairy tale, the sex symbol and the sports icon. But behind closed doors, trouble was brewing. DiMaggio was a proud, traditional man. As the months of their marriage passed, he grew uncomfortable, even jealous of Marilyn's provocative public image. He wanted a demure, private wife, while Marilyn was becoming the most ogled woman in the world. The tension finally exploded on the night of September 15, 1954, during the filming of one of Marilyn's most famous movie scenes. That night, in the middle of New York City, Marilyn was shooting a scene for the comedy The 7-Year Itch. Dressed in a white halter dress, she stood over a subway grate as a blast of air from below sent her skirt flying up around her hips. A huge crowd of onlookers gathered to watch, cheering every time her skirt billowed higher. Director Billy Wilder had invited the press and public to watch the shoot to drum up publicity, and boy did it work. Camera bulbs were flashing, and men were hollering, "Higher! Higher!" It was a spectacle. But not everyone was smiling. One man in the crowd was not amused, Joe DiMaggio. He had been watching from the sidelines, and he was furious. To him, this wasn't just acting or publicity. It felt personal and humiliating. Hundreds of strangers were gawking at his wife's legs, and more, in the middle of the night. DiMaggio thought Marilyn was, in his eyes, exposing herself. He didn't like what he saw or what everyone else was seeing, Director Wilder said later of Joe's reaction. As Marilyn delighted the crowd, her husband seethed with anger. When Marilyn finally wrapped the scene in the early morning hours, the cheers faded, but trouble followed her home. That night, back at the hotel, a huge fight erupted. Neighbors reported the couple had a screaming argument behind closed doors. The next day, people noticed Marilyn had bruises on her arms, hastily covered with makeup. It was clear their marriage was over. Just 3 weeks later, Marilyn Monroe filed for divorce from Joe DiMaggio after only 274 days of marriage. She cited mental cruelty, a polite 1950s term for emotional abuse and constant conflict. The white dress incident had been the final straw. Marilyn herself later admitted that the image of her skirt flying up, exposing my legs and thighs, even my crotch, that was the last straw in her marriage to DiMaggio. Suddenly, America's dream couple was shattered in a very public way. Marilyn even broke down crying as she announced the divorce to a swarm of press cameras in October 1954. It was front-page news. People took sides. Some blamed DiMaggio for trying to control Hollywood's sex goddess. Others wondered if Marilyn had gone too far in playing up her sexy image. Through it all, Marilyn refused to be ashamed of who she was. Instead, she moved forward and focused on her career. In fact, this scandal pushed Marilyn to make a bold change in her life. In 1955, not long after the divorce, Marilyn left Hollywood for New York, started studying acting seriously, and even formed her own production company to take control of her roles. The bombshell was transforming herself into a businesswoman and artist on her own terms. 3. Secrets of the President's Birthday and Marilyn's mysterious end. Our final scandal involves power, politics, and a mystery that still haunts Hollywood. It's 1962. Marilyn Monroe is 35 years old, recently divorced from her third husband, playwright Arthur Miller, and struggling with loneliness and illness. Yet, she's still the most famous woman in America, and she's about to be linked to the most powerful man in the world. All eyes were on Marilyn on May 19, 1962, when she took the stage at Madison Square Garden to sing Happy Birthday to President John F. Kennedy. This wasn't just any birthday song. Marilyn appeared in a skin-tight dress covered in thousands of sparkling rhinestones. So form-fitting, she had to be sewn into it. In front of 15,000 people, she sang Happy Birthday, Mr. President, in the most sultry, intimate voice imaginable, with Mr. President inserted as JFK's name. She even added flirty customized lyrics thanking Kennedy for all the things you've done in his first 45 years. The performance was so sensual that President Kennedy joked on stage, "I can now retire from politics after having had Happy Birthday sung to me in such a sweet, wholesome way, tongue firmly in cheek." The audience roared, and the moment instantly became legend. Rumors were already swirling that Marilyn and President Jack Kennedy had been having an affair behind the scenes. Watching Marilyn croon to JFK in that breathtaking way, with the First Lady noticeably absent, only poured gasoline on the gossip. Here was America's biggest sex symbol, provocatively serenading the commander-in-chief. What was going on between Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedys? In the weeks that followed, whispers grew that Marilyn was also spending time with JFK's younger brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, known as Bobby. Marilyn ran in the same circles as the Kennedy clan. In fact, actor Peter Lawford, JFK's brother-in-law, had introduced her to Jack back in the early 50s. By 1962, many believe Marilyn had gotten very close to both Kennedy brothers. It's said she had a brief romance with President Kennedy that eventually cooled off, and afterward she grew even closer to Bobby Kennedy, who was married but enamored with the star. At the same time, Marilyn's professional life was falling apart. Her health, both mental and physical, was deteriorating, and her behavior had become erratic. She was in the middle of filming a new comedy, Something's Got to Give, at Fox, but she frequently missed work due to sinus infections, exhaustion, and depression. Her decision to fly to New York to sing for JFK, while officially too sick to work, infuriated the studio. Fox executives saw it as the last straw. They even sent Marilyn a hand-delivered notice on set, reprimanding her for violating her contract by skipping work to appear at the president's gala. In June 1962, just a few weeks after that flashy performance, 20th Century Fox fired Marilyn from the film for frequent illnesses and absences, accusing her of costing the studio huge sums. It was a shocking move. Marilyn Monroe, the biggest star in the world, was publicly sacked. Fox soon regretted it and was negotiating to rehire her, but fate intervened before that could happen. By the summer of 1962, Marilyn Monroe was under extraordinary pressure. She was ill, emotionally fragile, dependent on prescription pills, and heartbroken from the collapse of her romantic dreams. She was also isolated. Many of her close friends had drifted away, and the Kennedys were keeping their distance. Still, Marilyn hoped to turn things around. She talked about finding new love, and she was tentatively set to restart her movie with Fox. Tragically, she would never get the chance. On August 4th, 1962, Marilyn spent the evening at home in Los Angeles. She spoke on the phone with friends, including actor Peter Lawford, and she reportedly went to bed around 8 p.m. In the early hours of August 5th, Marilyn's housekeeper noticed Marilyn's bedroom. Light was still on and got no response at the door. Worried, she called Marilyn's psychiatrist, who rushed over and broke a window to get into the locked bedroom. There, lying face down on her bed, they found Marilyn Monroe unresponsive, an empty bottle of sleeping pills by her side. Marilyn Monroe was dead at 36. The world was stunned. How could this vibrant Hollywood legend be gone so suddenly? The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office officially ruled Marilyn's death a probable suicide caused by acute barbiturate sedative overdose. But almost immediately, questions and wild theories swirled. Many people just couldn't believe Marilyn had intentionally killed herself. Was it an accident? Or was something more sinister involved? Thank you for joining us in exploring these true stories from Marilyn's life. Don't forget to watch the next video. You won't want to miss it.